Welcome back to the Gridiron Expert. It feels like a playoff caliber matchup in October. Number 4 Penn State at number 3 Iowa. That is our game of the week. That is the biggest game of week 6, without a doubt. If you love defense, if you love games that have major conference and playoff implications, then this is the game for you on Saturday afternoon. The winner of this game, without a doubt, solidifying themselves as the number 3 team in the country, barring any crazy upsets that could happen to Alabama or Georgia. And the winner of this also putting themselves in the driver's seat of their division. Looks like they could be well on their way to a Big Ten championship. Now, of course, we will say that Iowa appears to have the West wrapped up right now. No other team really in the West can challenge the Hawkeyes. This feels like maybe a bigger game for Penn State when it comes to their conference title hopes, as the Big Ten East is arguably the toughest division in all of college football, with the likes of Penn State, Ohio State, Michigan, and Michigan State all vying for that top spot. The Nittany Lions need this. Make sure they have a little bit more room for error as the season goes on. But we're here to break down this game of the week, guys. Again, a playoff caliber matchup, top 4 matchup in week 6. You cannot beat that. Penn State, Iowa, everything you need to know, and who we have winning this game. So once again, guys, welcome back to the Gridiron Expert, ready to break down everything for this matchup at Kinnick Stadium. As always, make sure to continue to like, comment, subscribe, and share our videos. And of course, check out everything down in the description below, especially check out those expert picks over on our website, thegridironexpert.com. Some of the best college football and NFL spread picks in the entire country. Both of the week 6 and week 5 for the NFL, those picks and analysis were posted today. They're posted every single Wednesday. So if you're not signed up for those, make sure you do it now so you don't miss out on those picks for this week and you don't miss out on the picks for the rest of the year. Because I promise you, it will be one of the best decisions you make all season long. So make sure to go check that out, again, down in the description. So let's take a look at the offense, guys. Let's take a look at Penn State and Iowa, and we'll start with Penn State first. We always give preference to that road team. I think you could venture to say that Penn State owns the offensive advantage going into this game. If you have watched both Penn State and Iowa over the course of their 4 or 5 games they've each played, you can make that argument. The Nittany Lions are averaging 30 points per game. They were averaging 418.6 yards per game, and they've been very balanced. Very, very balanced. 286 passing yards per game. That is their strength right now, throwing the football. But they're also averaging over 130 rushing yards per game with Noah Cain. And we mentioned back in the preseason, we've mentioned it all year long now, they've got their big 3. You know, their big 3 players. It's their quarterback in Sean Clifford, it's their running back in Noah Cain, and it's their top wide receiver in Jahan Dotson. Those are the 3 guys that are making the most plays and are the biggest contributors to this Penn State offense. And it all starts with Sean Clifford. You know, a lot of people, including Nittany Lion fans, were skeptical of Clifford at times, especially after last year, after Penn State went just 4-5. But let's keep in mind, guys, the Nittany Lions ended that season on a 4-game winning streak and have not lost since. They're carrying, what, an 8-9-game winning streak coming into this game? Nittany Lions are rolling, and Sean Clifford's a major reason for that, completing 67% of his passes, over 1,300 yards this season, 11 passing touchdowns, and just 3 interceptions. He's taking good care of the football. He's making great decisions across the board. Penn State, I do not believe, would be in this position right now if they did not have Sean Clifford. They didn't have the way he played against Wisconsin, the way he played against Auburn, the way he played, obviously, all the way up to now. But those, of course, being the 2 biggest games. You take a look at Iowa on their offense. Not bad, but we really haven't had to see them do as much as Penn State has. What I mean by that is we've seen Iowa's defense and their special teams and everything else set up the Hawkeyes offense for success. Not to take anything away from the Hawkeyes, right? We're not taking anything away from them. But if you've watched Iowa, you know how good their defense has been. You know how favorable a lot of their starting field positions have been because of their defense. And I'll expand on that a little bit. You look at Iowa. Yes, they have the big playability. They have 5 offensive touchdowns of at least 30 yards already this season. They have what it takes to put up the yards. They have what it takes to have those big home run explosive plays. But you look at the game, for example, like last week against Maryland. Last week against Maryland, a game they won 51-14. The offense played great in that game. But let's keep in mind that 5 scoring drives, whether they got a field goal or a touchdown, 5 drives where Iowa got points, 5 of those started in Maryland territory. 5 of those drives started in Maryland territory. So there were only a handful of drives in there that Iowa started deep in their own territory. I'm talking their own 20, own 25, touchback type. You know, there was another drive in there where they started on their own 41, their own 34, their own 35. There weren't many drives where you had to see Iowa go the entire length of the field to get points. Not saying they can't do that. And again, I know it's a small sample size. That was just Maryland. But that's kind of what we're looking at here with the Hawkeyes. They're reliant on their defense. They're reliant on their special teams. They're reliant on people to put them in a position, the offense at least, where they can get a quick and easy score. But they have talent to make a long, sustained drive, right? They do have that. Spencer Petras is playing great football. 943 yards, 7 touchdowns, just 1 interception. So Clifford and Petras doing a great job taking care of the football, making good decisions. We know Tyler Goodson is one of the better running backs in the Big Ten, 430 yards and 5 touchdowns on the year. And the Hawkeyes, like Penn State, are balanced. The numbers just aren't as large. 194 passing yards per game, 126 rushing yards per game. So again, we know Iowa has the capability to do that. We haven't seen much of it as compared to the likes of Penn State. So it's going to be really interesting to see if Penn State's defense holds strong, and we think they can. Will Iowa's offense be able to make a 75-yard drive? Will Iowa's offense be able to take the ball from deep in their own territory and at least get themselves in field goal range? And if the game is close, do we have faith in Spencer Petras to lead the team on a game-winning drive, whether they need a touchdown or a field goal? That is the million-dollar question. When you look at the defense, guys, that's the storyline coming into this game. We talk on offense. Yeah, it's important. You know, both teams are going to have to figure out some sort of success to go up against these defenses, but that's the major storyline we're looking at here, because when you think Iowa and Penn State, especially where they've been playing, it's, God, these defenses are ridiculous. Some of the best in the country. How are they going to score? Are we going to even see a team eclipse 10 points in this game? You might be asking yourself. You look at Penn State. They're allowing just 12 points per game. Just a total of 314.2 yards per game. And like we always say, if you can hold a team to under 300 yards per game on average, you're doing a good job. So Penn State slightly above that, still a very impressive mark, including just allowing 111.6 rushing yards per game. So that's not a bad mark at all. Tyler Goodson might be able to exploit that a little bit, but Penn State has done a very solid job of shutting down the run and trying to force their opponents to win the game through the air. Now, the most points they've allowed all year was 20 points to Auburn. Won that game by 8 in Happy Valley. And the one thing I'll say about Penn State and their defense is they are a bend but don't break type defense. And that's something that you might have to see here in this game against Iowa. Penn State, multiple times this year, look at the game against Wisconsin, you look at the game against Auburn, situations where Wisconsin or Auburn were in the red zone, knocking on the door, ready to take the lead, ready to tie the game, ready to get a touchdown, and Penn State didn't fold. They held strong. You know, maybe they got a couple lucky penalties in there. Maybe they got a couple tackles for a loss. Whatever it may be, they figured out a way to bend a little bit. The offense got down there, but they didn't break. They did not allow that ball to cross the plane and get in the end zone. Maybe they forced a turnover. Maybe they held them to 3 instead of 6. We've seen Penn State do that time and time again, and that's something they might have to do now against Iowa. Penn State's the type of defense that if the ball's on the 1-yard line, you know, everybody in the stadium thinks we're scoring, right? It's on the 1, no way we don't get the end zone. Penn State says, guess what, you're not going to. We're not going to let you get in the end zone. And we've seen that multiple times this season. And they're going to have to keep that up against the Hawkeyes now at Kinnick Stadium. They're going to have to find a way to, they can bend a little bit, but don't break. If Iowa gets in the red zone, don't let them punch the ball in the end zone. Make sure you hold them to 3. Even better, maybe hold them to nothing. And I say all that because when you look at Iowa's defense, points are going to be very hard to come by if you're Penn State. This Iowa defense is one of the best in the country. 11.6 points per game they're allowing. So slightly better than Penn State so far. They're allowing just 271.4 total yards per game. So again, we always say if you can hold them to 300 or less, you're doing really good. Iowa's looking really good, 271.4. They're allowing just 87 rushing yards per game, one of the best marks in the country, and we expected that. We knew that coming into 2021 that Iowa's rushing defense, usually stout enough as it is, was going to be one of the best in the country this year. So really, when you look at this, you can't help but wonder and say, hey, Penn State might be a little one-dimensional in this game, right? If they're not going to be able to run the ball very effectively with Noah Cain, it all comes down to Sean Clifford in the passing game. Can they get the job done, right? And that means that Iowa can hone in on that passing attack and maybe hope to force a few turnovers, something they've been very, very good at this season. I mean, Iowa's defense, guys, you look at just the numbers of yardage, that's impressive enough as it is, but you look a little deeper, 3 defensive touchdowns already this year. 3 defensive touchdowns, plus a safety in there. They have forced 15 turnovers this year, including 12 interceptions. Now, yes, I know that 6 of those 12 came just last week against Maryland when Iowa forced 7 turnovers on the Terrapins. That still counts. Still counts, and it's still impressive when you consider that everybody, not us, but everybody thought that Maryland might upset Iowa. The bookies, they thought Iowa was only a 3-4 point favorite. Iowa won 51-14 for 7 turnovers in that game, 6 of those being interceptions. They know how to get after the football. They're ball hawks. They get after it. They set their offense up with favorable field position that 9 times out of 10 is going to result in at least 3 points. But if you're lucky, it's going to result in 7. Iowa knows how to take the ball away, and they know how to make sure you don't put points up on that board. Again, just 11.6 points per game allowed this year. It's one of the best defenses in the country and one of the best defensive performances so far in a season that I've seen in a long, long time. Now, of course, Georgia is still that #1 defense without a doubt. Iowa, though, not too far behind them. So you take a look at this game, guys. What's going to happen in Iowa City? What's going to happen at Kinnick Stadium, a place where Penn State has actually thrived and done relatively well in recent games. Remember, Penn State has won 6 of the last 7 games against Iowa. 6 of the last 7 games against Iowa. 3 of those coming in Iowa City at Kinnick Stadium. Iowa snapped that streak last year, beating Penn State 41-21 in the midst of Penn State's turmoil, going 0-5 and winning their Final Four. But again, Penn State is no stranger to Kinnick Stadium. They're not really afraid of Kinnick Stadium, right? As we always say, one of the most difficult places to play in the country. So this game, guys, on Saturday afternoon, not a night game, and the night game changes everything. But not a night game still, though, at Kinnick. I believe this game lives up to the hype. Number 4, number 3, playoff caliber. How can you ask for anything better? Again, if Iowa loses this game, it's okay, right? The West is pretty much locked up for them. There's not a single team in the West that I worry about if I'm Iowa, right? But if Penn State loses this game, the room for error is very small considering they've yet to play Ohio State, Michigan, or Michigan State. All ranked opponents, all within the top 11. So you have to wonder, yes, it's a big game, but maybe it's slightly bigger for Penn State than it is for Iowa. And on Saturday afternoon, guys, you're going to see a game, again, that we said lives up to the hype. We're going to see a hard-nosed football game, low-scoring, defensive slugfest, battle in the trenches. You're going to see all of it. Classic Big Ten football on Saturday. And really the major question comes up with this: which defense, both of which are elite, which defense comes through and sets up their offense? Which one wins the turnover battle and gives their offense better field position? Which defense gets the crucial stop when you need it the most? Which defense in the end comes through and sets their offense up with the best opportunity? Or better yet, which defense puts points on the board for their team? Which one gets a fumble recovery for a touchdown, gets a pick 6, whatever it may be, special teams even, kickoff return, fumbles on the kickoff, whatever it may be, which defense sets up the offense and sets up their team more for success? And right now, I have to go with a team that's been doing that all year long, and I'm going to go with Iowa. We are going to pick the Hawkeyes to beat Penn State on Saturday afternoon. Again, this defense is unreal, guys, and I do believe in the power of Kinnick Stadium. Yes, I know Penn State has won there multiple times. I know they have done it. They're no stranger. I expect it to be very, very close this time around. Again, very, very close. No 20-point victory for either team like we saw last year. But with home field advantage on their side, with a ridiculous defense, maybe one of the better ones we've seen in recent memory for Iowa, I believe they're able to shut down Sean Clifford and this Penn State passing attack, pick him off at least once, and that might be all the Hawkeyes need to win this game at home and remain and solidify themselves as the number 3 team in the country and maybe run the table all the way at least until the Big Ten championship game. So guys, as always, thank you so much for watching us here at the Gridiron Expert on YouTube. Number 4, number 3, game of the week. Do not miss it. We've got Iowa, but it is going to be a thriller. Do not miss out on that game. As always, make sure to continue to like, comment, subscribe, and share our videos. And of course, check out everything down in the description below as well. Again, we just put out our Week 6 picks for college football, along with our Week 5 picks for NFL over on our website, thegridironexpert.com. Sign up for those today if you haven't already, so you don't miss out on this week's picks, and you also don't miss out on the rest of the year's picks, because it's going to be one of the best decisions you make all year long, because they're some of the best picks in the entire country, will be certainly by season's end. Always are, always have been the last 3 years. You do not want to miss out on it. So go get that a look, gridironexpert.com, down in the description below. And once again, guys, as always, thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you next time right here on the Gridiron Expert.